Yo, Concrete, you made this?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prolific Roots. Once again, I am your host, Monte, and I am here with my co-host, Ricky, today. And,
What up?
You know, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We know you don't have to be here, and we are grateful that you are. And also, once again, if you're not following us on Instagram, go ahead and follow us at @prolific_roots. And we're also on YouTube. The link to that is in the bio. And we're also on Facebook as well. So go ahead and tap in with us there, and you can, be notified of any new content that we drop, because we got a very special episode for you guys today. And I'll let Ricky go ahead and introduce who our guest is today.
Yeah. First of all, let me just to kind of set the what is it? The mood, I guess.
The tone.
The tone. There's a reason why I'm excited specifically, and the reason why I'm excited is because it's very rare. When I say rare, it's probably happened once in my life. Today it's happened twice, where I walk into the room and I'm the second best dancer in the room. So,
bro, how many times have you walked in the room with me?
This is why, obviously, guys, you guys probably already know who this is. You're probably wondering who that is over there. I'm gonna allow them to give a more detailed introduction as to who they are. We have with us a dancer. I don't even know. I feel like dancer is like not doing you justice. What should I give you? What's the title I should give you?
Nah, I like dancer.
A dancer?
Cool.
You like that? Yeah. So probably one of the better dancers that I've seen lately, and especially the fact that she is Polynesian. I mean, it's
respect.
Yeah, respect. Big respect to that, and so we're grateful to have her on the show. And then also we have with her mom Jeannie, and just a real kind of a brief update as to why we decided to have her on here. The reason why is because we watched. She recently did a podcast with
Superfly. Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him. And she had shared certain experiences that we felt it would be a powerful moment for us to really bring her on the show and kind of show or tell her story from a parent's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're grateful to have both of them on the show. But yeah, take this opportunity to introduce yourself and introduce your mom. And, your name, where you're from, age. Obviously, your hobby it's not even a hobby at this point anymore. And then, what you like to do maybe in your free time. And then, we'll go from there.
Cool. What's up, guys? I'm Sienna Lalau. I am 19 years old. I'm originally from Honolulu, Hawaii. And this right here is my lovely mother. Her name is Jeannie Lalau. She's been my rock ever since I've been here in LA. But yeah, I would say in my free time, which I feel like I have no free time anymore, so I don't really know like what I really like to do personally, but it's just because dance is like kind of taken over my life like completely, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who don't know, we are actually in her office, if you will.
Yeah.
This is the lab here in, where are we at right now? West Covina. So shout out to the lab for allowing us to come in here and host this episode for you, with you guys. But yeah, so we're gonna jump straight into it, because I mean there's so much that we'd like to push out from their story, and I'm sure they're excited to share their story as well. Yay. And so kind of just starting from the beginning stages, Sienna, I mean, why dancing? I mean, when did dancing become a thing for you? And why was it something that you chose to pursue it? When did you just decide, and why?
Yeah, so I started dancing at 4 years old at a studio called Hyper Squad Dance Company back in Hawaii. I feel like from the first class that I ever took, I kind of just fell in love with it from the moment I started moving. I feel like I've always, like, whenever music would come on, I would always just dance and like do whatever I wanted to, but I never really knew like what moves to do, obviously. And so I feel like the first dance class I took, I was like, okay, somebody's actually like knowing how to, like, okay, I'm learning how to like actually move my body rather than just go crazy, So started dancing when I was 4. Like I said, I fell in love with it ever since I first started, and took as many classes as I could, started to train in different styles that I've never even heard of before, such as like I would train in like popping and what else? Crumping.
Crumping?
Breakdancing. No,
I
would.
Start now.
He's all like, we're going to battle after this.
Now, from the Bay, we gig over there.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
okay. I'm not the best crumper. I'm going to be real. But I did learn. So, yeah, I took as many styles of classes that I could, whatever my studio had to offer. And I would say, like, I didn't really take dance too seriously back then. We used to compete in a lot of competitions growing up. Like for me, we would come out here to LA, but it was more for crew-based things. So I never really got to experience anything as an individual, like learning
like
how
solo,
to. Yes, exactly. So we would come out, compete in like World of Dance Los Angeles or other competitions like that. And I actually never really like knew of the LA dance scene or what even like taking a class out in LA was about. And so it was back in 2015, I came out here to go to a dance convention called the Bts Experience, which is held by a choreographer named Bts Adams. He has a lot of like viral videos on YouTube and stuff, and he's always been like one of my biggest inspirations. I would feel like, I would say growing up, watching all of his videos and stuff. So I came to attend his convention. I would say that I was definitely not the best dancer in the room. It was kind of like culture shock for me. I was I stepped in the room and there's so many different people from like not even just the US, but all around the world. And I was so scared and so intimidated. And I was like, you're expecting me to dance next to these people?
How do I follow that right there? The dude just did a triple backflip.
No, these people were crazy too. They were like flipping all over the room. I'm like, I can't do any of that. And I felt like that was the first time like I opened my eyes, like it opened my eyes to seeing like, damn girl, like you're not in Hawaii anymore. Like this is a different scene. Like you got to step your game up. And for me, like I was so intimidated and scared that I would stand in the back corner every single class I took because I was so afraid to like put myself out there, like push myself to go and just show people who I was, because I feel like I was pretty okay at that time. I would say that I definitely don't have the body control that I used, like that I have now. I didn't have that back then. So I looked like just power and energy the entire time and no dynamic. But my parents actually got mad at me that time because every class I took, like I said, I stood in that like back corner, so afraid to put myself out there. And they would be like, we paid so much money for you to come out here, you know, how are you gonna like just stand in the back and
take advantage of this.
Exactly. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, they are so right. Why am I so scared to like go and put myself out there? And I think for me, it was just like growing up, my parents have always taught me to like, you know, have humility and, you know, especially like from the islands too, like people are so chill there. People don't like go out and like do like outrageous things or like put themselves out there. So when I attended that dance convention, I would say that I definitely experienced a lot of different things. And then I auditioned to be a part of their crew called I'm a Beast, and I made it on. So that kind of allowed me to come and travel out to LA a lot more to do different projects. And when I would come to do those different projects, I would go and take classes from everywhere else and train out here in LA.
Let me just interject really fast. So, because I think there was a moment there where I don't want to skip over. I'd like to highlight it a little bit. So
go for it.
There was you saw all these great dancers. You felt like you were a good dancer. And
Back
then
in Hawaii, yes.
And then you came to competitions out here in LA or wherever they were, and you saw all these dancers coming from all over the place. And they were extremely talented, obviously. And you started to doubt yourself a little bit. I
would say I started to doubt myself a little bit, and I would doubt kind of like my passion and my love for dance too.
And so, outside of your parents pretty much strong on me, hey, you better get the hell up there and you know what I'm saying, participate and take care, you know what I'm saying, because we spent a lot of money on this. Outside of that, what was that process like of overcoming those fears? Because a lot of people would look at it as like, okay, you know, maybe this is not for me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, you know, this is too uncomfortable, or maybe they'll look at the competition and say, yeah, there's no way that I could do that. What was that process like for you mentally, outside of, you know, your parents pretty much kind of like, hey, get up there and participate? What was that like for you? How did you overcome those feelings of inadequacy or those feelings of doubt? How did you overcome that to become what you are now?
I think I had to realize that every person in that room is special for their own reasons. And for me, I had to find my own specialty and what makes me, you know, in a sense. Right. And so I feel like I kind of figured out that, like, dude, I bring this like power and this rawness and this energy that, like, I feel like nobody else in that room had.
Let me so in the Bay Area, we got this thing called, you probably don't know what this called. It's called a Thiz face. You heard of that?
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't really know
so,
what it is.
Well, you doing it.
Yeah, you doing it perfectly, and it's pretty evident to tell that you are passionate about what you're doing. I mean, all the faces that you could just tell by your face, like literally you are putting everything you have into every move that you do. And that's the first thing I noticed when I would watch your videos is like, yo, this girl's doing this face, like, and she don't even know, and she's killing it.
Thank you.
I mean, the fact that you were able to really just notice and realize that that's what I bring that a lot of other dancers don't bring, because literally, I mean, I feel like if you did the exact same moves without those facial expressions, I don't know how hard they would hit, to be honest with you.
Honestly, I agree. I totally agree.
So back in Hawaii, is it like how did you get to that camp in the first place? Is it anybody can go to that, or you got to have some
anybody
kind of
can go to that. It's just you got to obviously like pay for it and everything. Right. But I actually got to go because I won a scholarship to go there. So he had, the head choreographer that created this dance convention, he held a competition on Instagram to say, like, okay, if you can, like, I want you guys to get whoever you can to, like, make a video and tell us why you deserve to go to this convention. Right. And so I called up all of my friends, my family, my parents kind of helped me, like, put all these videos together. And the amount of people that just sent in videos to tell this one choreographer why I deserve to go to this convention was just so. Everybody was showing mad love. Yeah, it was so overwhelming. It was so much love and so much support from the beginning. So the choreographer Wildebeest saw, like, this one video from my director at that time. His name is Joshua, and like my director Josh was just like, dude, you need to see this girl. Like, you need to bring her out, because, like, I'm telling you, like, you've never seen anything like her before. So he saw that. He was like, oh, for sure, I got to bring her out. So he gave me a scholarship to come out and
so it wasn't even dancing. It was just basically recommendations of, like, your personality.
Pretty much, yeah.
That was the contest online, because he had held other dance contests for people to win the scholarship, but his last one, he wanted to give it to see, like, why the person deserved to
passion.
Go. And so, like she said, everybody sent in videos. My husband edited it, put it together, and then we submitted it. And then when Wildebeest saw her, and I guess, like, and then you can search up her videos too as well. And then that's when he's like, so then he introduced her as the winner. Yeah. And so and I remember her saying, like, she wanted to go to this convention, but I'm like, okay, it's expensive. It's LA. There's like airfare, a hotel,
rental car.
And I remember her saying, like, well, if I enter this competition, if I get a scholarship, can I go? And I said, okay, if you can get the scholarship, then we'll definitely go, because that'll help, right, with the cost. And then she won, and then she's like, oh, I guess we're all going. Oh, great, now we got to make it happen. You know? So I was like, okay.
Hey, that's a free vacation, I mean, for you at least.
Honestly, it was a vacation for my whole family at that time. So.
Okay, so really, we got your thoughts on, your experience on what it was like overcoming your fears and, just seeing the amazing talent that was around you and feeling like you weren't matching up to that.
Yeah.
Mom, what was it like for you to see all of that and to see how your daughter was reacting to it initially, scared and kind of just reserved and kind of kicking back?
No, yeah, so like she said, when she was standing in the corner, the back corner, because that's where we were all sitting, because they had a section for parents that wanted to watch, and so she literally was standing, like, right in front of us, in front of this room that holds, like, at that time there was like 800 dancers in this big room, this bar room. And she would just stand in that corner, and then she would go off, and it was funny because, like, all these other parents that were sitting next to us, they didn't know she was our daughter, but a lot of the parents were like, who the heck is this girl? Like, they're like, why is she back here? And, like, every time, like, Wildebeest or the choreographers would be like, oh, give me people who just want to come and dance, and then everybody's like pointing to her, right? And I'm like, as a parent, I'm like, okay, I know what my daughter's capable of, I've seen it, and I could tell, like, it was all going to her head. Like, she was saying, like, it was intimidating to see this many good dancers in a room and stuff like that. And so I just remember all these parents being like, who is this girl? Like, get her. And then even the guy who gave her the scholarship knew she was standing in the back, and he would go up to her and be like, why are you standing back here? Like, And so I remember, like, after the second night, like, we sat her down, and then I was like, what's going on? Like, why? We came all the way from Hawaii for you to stand in the back corner. It's like, we know something's going on in your head. And she kind of shared, like, she's intimidated. And we told her, like, you can't compare yourself to everybody. You know what I mean? You just have to go out and do what you love to do and show people why you love to dance. And so we told her the next day, like, we want to see improvement. Don't even stand in the back. So she goes to, like, the middle of the room, but to the side, to the side. And we're like, really, like, okay. But we're like thinking, okay, that's an improvement from being in the back corner. So we knew it was getting to her head. Because, like she said, like, from coming from Hawaii and then, of course, our Polynesian roots, like, we've always taught our kids, to always stay humble and all that. And to her, she felt like if she was going to go to the front, like, it was like saying, like, like you're showing off. You know what I mean? Like, look at me. So she was like, still having that mindset in her mind, like, of us teaching our kids to always be humble and to to stay have humility. And so I know she was using that, but that was like a crutch, you know what I mean, for her to really, like, say, okay, and it's not about you putting yourself out there and being a show off, but it's really being out there and being confident in what you can deliver. So so we were mad, like, we didn't really we did kind of strong arm her. Like, we like, we're gonna pack our bags and go home if you're not.
That's what my dad would have said. My mom and dad would definitely, if you're gonna be acting like that, let's go home right now. Why are we even here?
Why are we even here? And so then I think that's when it hit her, like, okay, I'm and I think for her to prove, like, even though we come from a small island, from Hawaii, it's like, people can dance, just as big as the people in LA. So
So then at this, is this a
convention?
Convention? Were you able to overcome it, or was it like you went through that whole convention kind of being shy, and then the next one you turned up on them?
I definitely feel like I overcame my fear of, like, just being surrounded, like, with all these amazing dancers, like I said. So the audition that he held at the end of the convention, which was for his team, I, like, put myself in the front, and obviously it was kind of still to the side, but because I didn't really want to go to the center. But I
can't even imagine you. I mean, looking at your videos now, I would never imagine Sienna trying to hide on the side. So, I mean, that right there is inspiring to me, because people look at your product, what you put out now. Some people might have never heard about you until recently, and they're probably like, man, I could never do what she does, which is exactly where you were during that convention. It was like, man, I could never do that. And then just sit in the back. It's like that in itself to me is inspiring. So,
thank you. Yeah. So I tried to put myself in the front, and he actually, like, kind of called me out to, like, do it in smaller groups anyway. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to, like, shy away from this. So I would go and stand in the center, and, like, whenever he called me out to do it. And I definitely felt like I left feeling like I did everything I could, like, at the end of the convention, to really just be in that moment and be present and not shy away from whatever challenge that was kind of thrown my way throughout that convention. So I definitely overcame that fear through the second part of the week, though.
Yeah. Props to you. Some people take way longer. And so you win the audition to be on the team. Mm-hmm. And so then what does that mean?
So his crew, I'm a Beast, they've always kind of been, like, very big in the dance scene, in the dance world. And basically you just kind of make it onto the team. It's kind of like what the lab is too. Right. So you make it onto the team, and you're able to do all these different video projects, or even if they do, like, different jobs with artists, you're, like, kind of in his little, like, crew for him to like pick from and everything. So at that time, when I did make it onto the team, he was doing a lot of, like, different videos that, he would say, like, yo, if anybody's ever free, like, come to LA, because we're going to be doing this video shoot for this and this and this. And so I was like, Mom, can I go? And she was like, I know you made it onto the team, but we still got finances, okay? You gotta slow down.
Wait, so are you, like, during these back and forths, is there any money being made at this time, or is it just kind of like, this is like an investment towards?
Yes, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she would, like, say, like, because we have a Facebook page, and they would post all these different jobs, and they're like, who can make it? And of course, she wants to go to all of them, right? I'm like, okay, realistically, it's not like we can jump in the car and drive. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a plane ticket. And so we had to be very selective, only because like she was still in school, and then didn't want her to miss a lot of school. And so we had to kind of, I think we probably did like 2 videos in that year that she was on the team, you know, because that's all we could, for one, like we could do with her school schedule, but also financially, you know what I mean? It's like
that's not a cheap trip.
Exactly.
This is before Southwest started flying out. Shout out to Southwest though.
And then when she would go, we had to send her by herself because, you know, it's expensive because, like, okay, we'll just afford 1 ticket. So she would fly by herself, but then, like, my family would meet her at the airport, and then she would stay with them and take her to wherever she needed to be. So, yeah.
Wow. So, okay, so then where do we go from here then? I mean, so you're on the team. There's a bunch of these videos that you want to be a part of, every single one, but obviously for whatever reason, you're not able to.
Yeah.
What is the next, where do you go from here then?
So, this is where the lab pretty much comes in. Back in 2016, I came out here to LA for a job with my crew. I'm a Bts at that time, and it was for the Ellen Show. And at that time, the lab was getting ready to compete in this competition called Vibe Juniors, which is a big dance competition in the dance community. And I actually have like an old student of mine that is a part of the lab right now. Her name is Kea. She's also from Hawaii.
Shout out to Kea.
Shout out to Kea. So yeah, I used to teach her back at home in Hawaii, and she actually came out to move to LA around like 2000, I would say what, 16? No, 2014 to pursue acting though. So she was here to pursue acting, and she kind of met the lab like through somebody and someone, I don't know how that whole like story unfolded, but her mom, I've always been so close to her mom, and I guess the directors of the lab were looking for somebody to just come in and, I don't know, like
shake
be in the routine,
I
guess, in a sense.
Okay.
And so Kea's mom, her name is Sonoy, she said, oh, you should check out this one girl from our home, you know, she used to teach Kea, she's super good, like I think you'd really like her, and I think she'd fit perfectly for the routine that you guys are doing. And so my director of the lab, she was like, oh, who's this girl? And so Sonoy tells her, oh, her name is Sienna, and she shows her my videos, and then my director was like, oh, this girl's good, okay, well, we'll see, let's try to, like, do you think she'd be down, you know, to do this competition with us? And I think for my director, it was more like because I was doing a lot of things like as a individual now, so she wasn't sure if I would be down to do something with the group. And for me, I'm just kind of down to dance with whoever and just like be a part of anything that, you know,
so you're down to battle right now.
Okay. He's getting ready. Oh my God.
I'm gonna turn down the smoke. I'm cool.
No, you're good. So she was like, do you think you should be down? And so Sonoy reached out to my mom and said, hey, Kea dances for this crew called The Lab now. Like, they kind of want Sienna to come in and be in their routine, you know. And she was saying, like, oh, just for the ending, though, you know, to, like, give a good, like, powerful, like, ending for a routine. And my mom's like, The Lab? Who's The Lab? I think, like, I think I came to the lab like a long time ago, but it's because like my crew back then in Hawaii, we like rented their studio to practice for like ABDC auditions or something like that. Yeah. But I never really knew of like the lab or like who they were or like what they do. So my mom was like, let me look up the lab. Who's the lab?
Do some research.
Yeah. So she saw
if it's even worth it.
Okay. So she saw a YouTube video of like their recent competition at that time, and she was like, what the heck, they're crazy, like they're using all these different props, and like it was a Kanye set that they did, and she was like, oh yeah, my daughter can be a part of this for sure. So when I came down to LA for the job on the Ellen Show, at the same time I was able to come to the lab and compete with them in that competition. So ever since that point, like I've kind of just stuck with the lab because they've I don't know, I respect their work ethic, and I respect just every single thing that they like, that my director kind of stands for, her values and everything. She's a super like down to earth person, and she has always kind of made sure that I like just hustle and like work hard and just go for whatever I want to achieve. So
yeah, so at this time, is dancing, like you've already decided dancing is how I'm going to make a living for myself, or?
No, I would say that my parents kind of just still wanted me to go to school too. So dance was just more like an
escape.
Kind of, yeah, in a sense. And I would just like, whenever I would come out to travel to LA to train, it was just something that I would do so that way I could get better at it every single time. But nothing that I wanted, like I didn't really think of it as a job or a career. Right. And so I think because I was still going to school, my parents were like, oh, you got to start thinking about college, you know, like where you want to go to college at? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I want to go to college.
I mean, if you didn't know that you wanted to go to college, did you know what you wanted to do then? Because I mean, you weren't exactly sold on dancing yet.
Yes.
I mean, you enjoyed it enough to where you did it every day because you wanted to get better at it, but it wasn't something that you saw as a long-term thing. But you also didn't feel like you didn't know if you wanted to go to college.
Yeah.
Where was your head at then at that time?
So I think that because I was like, my parents were definitely talking about school a lot of the time, I was like, oh, I should become like a dancing like lawyer or a dancing like engineer or something, because I think for me, my favorite subject in school was math. Right. And so I was like, I should be an engineer or something. And so that's where like my head was. I was like, oh, I can dance and like go to school at the same time. And I was like, okay, no, that just seems very tiring and exhausting. So that's where my head was at. I don't know where my head was at, like, honestly, during
Nobody knows where their head is at, honestly.
You in high school, you know what I'm saying?
I feel, no, yeah. So that's, like, kind of, like, what I wanted to pursue in the beginning. And I think it was back in 2017 where I was like, oh, no, dance is, like, I need to, like, fully go into dance. Like, if...
Okay, like, so what happened, so what happened in 2017 that made you, like, wow, I need to do this. This is my thing.
Yeah. So back in 2017, I came to compete with the lab in another competition in the community called Body Rock.
And at this time, you're still living in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I actually just got off of doing World of Dance Season 1, the TV show that J-Lo's the executive producer of. And I was like, oh, I want to go in the summer back to LA so I can go train and like, you know, do whatever I need to. And so I came for the summer, competed with the lab in Body Rock Juniors, and then I did the Build a Beast experience again because they have it every summer, every year. And then after that, I was able to compete in the world's biggest competition called Hip Hop International. And this is where like Paris Goebel, like we were saying, the royal family, like this is where they compete at all the time. And, you know, they've kind of blown up from their videos of doing this competition. And so the lab wanted to take a varsity team, which is a 9-man crew. And the boys, a lot of my friends that were here at that time, they were like, oh, we should go with all boys and then have Sienna as the only girl. And my director was like, nah, y'all are playing. Like, you guys don't want to go compete in this. And they're like, no, we really do. Like, but we think that we should like have Sienna like in our crew. So we went to go compete in this competition. And basically it's a week long and you go through a lot of different rounds. So the first one is the USA competition. So you're competing against all the crews in the USA and trying to see if you're the best in the USA at first, right? And then once you make it past that round, you would go to the world. So we won the USA competition in that division. And so we're like, oh, world competition, like you're going against the best crews in the world now. Like that's, it's crazy. And these crews be pulling out some, I bet. I can imagine. Sure. Some really good like tricks and like different like styles and moves. So we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we're going to be able to win this thing. Like, okay, so we'll see. We went through the world competition. We never placed below second in all of those rounds. And then we ended up winning the world championship at the finals. So
that's crazy.
We were the best.
I did not know that. I'm sitting amongst the champion.
That's world champion. This is not a national champion.
Facts, yeah. Let me chill,
thank you. So yeah, we won the first place title. We were world champions in the varsity division in the world. And so I think after that moment, my mom and dad were like,
you got the juice.
What do you want to do?
No, my dad mostly was like, I think she's like, she needs to like go through this, you know, this path of like making dance her career now.
Really?
Because
this is your dad after winning that?
Yes. So, because I came home and I was like going to school regularly. It was like my senior year.
I
just won a world championship and I'm at home.
When you talk to me, like,
with Joe Schmo here. Been playing games all weekend.
So I went back to school. I was like, oh, I feel so bored here. What am I gonna do? I was like, I want to dance more than ever now. You know, after winning that competition. And my dad could tell that like I was definitely like not myself. When I came back home, he was like, oh, she messes LA for sure. So Yeah, my dad was like, we need to send her up to LA to like start living there. But
Mom, well, I mean, what was your? How did you feel after? I know you said your dad was like, yeah, maybe we need to push this for her.
Yeah.
What were you thinking, seeing your daughter compete on a stage like that and being able to win over all these other dance groups? What were you feeling at the time, and then what was your reaction when your husband was like, hey, this is maybe we need to.
Yeah, you need to take her too.
Yeah, you need to take her. Yeah. So what was it like for you?
Oh my gosh, well, it's crazy. Like that year she spent the whole summer in LA. So we are like our family. We didn't even see her. Like she literally right when school ended and it was summer break. She
said bye, everybody.
Sent her on the plane the next day. We sent her on the plane the next day, and she was gone. So we didn't see her for like 2 months. And so when they decided to do HHI, I was like, everybody back home was like, you need to go watch, because we all knew, because back then our crew from Hawaii, we used to do that competition, and so everybody was like, you need to go watch Sienna, like this is like a great moment for her. And I was like, yeah, but I can't afford it. And then one of our good friends had blessed me with a round trip ticket, you know what I mean? So they surprised me. They're like, no, you need to go see your daughter. Like you need to be there. Like she hasn't seen you guys for so long. And so I was like, oh my gosh.
A really great friend.
Yeah,
exactly.
Shout out to the great friends out there.
Can you be my friend?
And so, yeah, so they blessed me with a round trip ticket to come support her and see her. So I surprised her. She had no idea I was coming up. And so they were having
cried and everything.
She had rehearsals here, and then I texted their directors. I'm like, okay, I'm like right around the corner, and they're like, okay, we'll gather everybody. So I entered through that back door over there, and they're all talking to them, giving them the pep talk, and then I pop out, and she's all screaming and crying because and then I'm crying because like I said, I hadn't seen her for like 2 months, right? So then I was like, okay, so being there, seeing their team win, I mean, it was like so surreal. Like I was like, what the heck? Like that's something like a lot of teams that go into this competition dream of. You know what I mean? Like not only just winning the USA, but winning USA and Worlds. That's like hard, especially in this competition, HHI. And so, like she said, when she went back home, we could tell like she was like all like, oh, okay, I'm back home in Hawaii, like that. And so, and I just remember after they won, like everybody here in LA, like the directors and even like Sonoy, Kea's mom, they kept calling me like, you need to send Sienna already. Like this is like, this is a momentum already for her, like to reach that level where they won. And it's like, we need to send her, she needs to come up already. And I kept going, no, I want her to finish school in Hawaii. I want her to at least graduate.
Yeah.
I want her to graduate in Hawaii, by then, then she can move, you know what I mean? She'll be done with high school. And they're like, no, but if you miss this window of opportunity, you don't know when it's going to come back around, like this and that. And then I just kept like, no. Like my mind was set. Like, no, she's graduating from my alumni high school back home. That's like what you were saying. She was saying, like, she's graduating from your alumni. I'm like,
what high school is that?
Mililani High School.
Man, we just did a Kahuku alumni. Is that all right?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's opposite side of the island.
I don't know. I'm from California.
So then, so my mind was set, like she's not going. But like she said, my husband could tell like she was missing something. Like there was this joy that was missing from her, And so then that's when he was like, he sat me down and he was like, yeah, I think we need to send her. And I was like, looking at him like, what, excuse me? I was like, no, I already told her she's not going to after she graduates. And he's like, then he like put it on me. He's like, well, why are you holding on to her? Like, he's like, why are you trying to stop her from going? And then, of course to me, I'm like, I mean, hello. I mean, she has one more year. Like, what's waiting one more year? And then, he's like, no, I just think like for you, you're holding her back because you just want something that you want her to achieve. You know what I mean? He's like, she can graduate from a school up here in California. It's the same thing, And of course, my whole thing is like, she's our firstborn. I wanted her to graduate in Hawaii so that our whole family can be part of that achievement. Yeah. And so I think that was my selfish reasons of why I wanted her to stay back. But then my husband kind of opened my eyes. He's like, but this is what your daughter wants to do. This is her future. So we have to set her on this path now. And so I was like, so he took a couple of days to convince me, and then finally, like, I was like, okay, we'll let her go.
Shout out to the wives who listen to their husbands.
Hint.
What? No, I'm playing.
And so, so then he convinced me, and then so I gave in, and so like it happened so fast, like it was like what is that? Like a Wednesday that we agreed, and then Sunday we flew her out. You know what I mean? Like so we had like a last minute family gathering. We called all our close family and friends, letting them know the news, and they were all shocked. Like, wait, you're sending her up to LA? Like, what about school?
No.
I know. They're all like, what about school? I'm like, no, we're gonna have her do her senior year up there, and stuff like that. So
Oh, so originally you weren't coming with her? She was going by herself?
No, she was, we sent her up by herself at first, because she was staying with Sonoy and Kea, our good friends, because they lived close by to the lab. And so then it was like a month, about a month by herself here, without me.
What a hard month without you.
And then and of course, like, we would call her just to check up and all that, and I could tell my husband was like, okay, like she's missing something, and then right there, my husband, so I'm fine, right? I'm like, okay, she's with Auntie Sonoy, she's with Kea, they're good, they're doing their thing, and then next thing you know, I come home from work, and then my husband looks at me, he's like, yeah, I think you need to go too. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm not part of this equation. And I was like, I'm not dancing. I was like, okay, I agreed to let her go, but I'm like, why do I have to go? That was my whole thing. Like, why do I have to go? Because I'm born and raised in Hawaii. Like, my mom's there, all my family. And so I was all like, and so my husband's like, no, I feel like, as parents, like, we don't want to just throw the responsibility. Although, like, Sonoy, like, we love her, but that's not her. Sienna's not her child.
Right,
what I mean? So my husband, her thinking was like, she's our daughter. If anything happens, I would, my peace of mind would be like, so one of us is there for her,
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I am not trying to leave, like.
Man, your husband must be a hell of a negotiator or a talker, because, man,
No, he really is.
No, yeah. And that was his whole thing, because he said, like, what if she starts traveling, what if she starts traveling, I don't want her traveling by herself, she's like a girl and this and that, and I'm like, she ain't gonna travel anytime soon. I'm like, she's fine, and so I'm over there trying to, like, convince him not to send me, and then next thing you know, he's like, then he gave me the ultimatum. He's like, if you don't go, then we're sending her back. Like, I'm not having my child up there in LA by herself, although she's being taken care of, but he's like, it's for his peace of mind. He just wanted, one of us there. So I was like, okay. So then I went up a month after, and ever since then, we've been here. Yes, we've been here.
Wow, that's amazing. I do want to go back quick second. So when you were not thinking that dance was the thing for you, is that due to you didn't think there was money to be made in dancing, or you didn't think you had the skill to do it? I
think it was maybe a combination of both, I would say. Okay. And I think the fact that I was still living in Hawaii, I feel like I probably thought that I was like, how the heck am I gonna, like, keep leveling myself up if I'm still here, trying to accomplish school, finishing school. And I think after traveling to LA so many times, I'm like, it's not that, like, I felt like the Hawaii dance scene was any less or anything. I was just like, I just felt like the training was a little different. So I was like, how can I push myself if, like, the people that I'm taking these classes from or that I'm surrounded by, like, wait, sorry. I'm not trying to sound rude or anything in a sense, but I felt like every time I was in LA, it was just a different push. Like, I was like, how am I going to
You were comfortable in Hawaii.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like.
And you had to make yourself comfortable to grow.
Pretty much, yeah. So I think it was probably a combination of both. And I kind of saw, like, a lot of, like, my inspirations and choreographers and dancers, like, growing up. Like, I didn't even know that they were, like, kind of making money, like, off of dance. And I'm like,
you thought they were coming from a job.
No, for sure, yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're, like, doing multiple things. They're not just dancing and, like, choreographing or anything. So I would say it was definitely a combination of both.
Okay, cool. So then now we are living in LA. We're with the lab. Mm-hmm. So how do we get from there to dancing with BTS?
Oh, wow. Starting from the beginning, I would say ever since we've been out here in LA, the first, I would say 3 or 4 months, probably 5.
Three months.
It was, like, definitely the hardest. We were living with Sonoy and Kea and barely coming up with any money to, like, be able to pay, like, our share, or, like, even just buy groceries at that time. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, like, seeing my mom always crying and always feeling so depressed, and I was so my heart was so broken for her, like, she had to leave our family pretty much, and she has 3 other kids that she could be like, pouring into as well. And the fact that her, like, selfless act of just being able to help me achieve my dreams was, like, it spoke volumes to me. And so
hearing that now, because I didn't know that, I didn't watch all the episode, but I didn't know that. I feel like you seeing that, it shows in your dance. Like, do you feel like that's why you're so energetic, and it, like a lot of that shows in your moves and in your facial expressions, in your performances, is seeing something like that, like seeing your mom, even though you guys probably weren't in the best situation, you guys were separated from your dad and your siblings. Do you feel like seeing your mom in these hard situations, do you feel like that comes out in your performances? Or?
I feel like recently, like ever since I moved to LA, yes, I would say that that definitely kind of is one of the factors that allow my performance to be like that. Because I just feel like as a dancer, like ever since I was growing up, I've always kind of had that like performance, but nothing really drove it to be like a little bit more. So I feel like seeing my mom, you know, in that state and just like, oh man, just seeing her like kind of like lock herself in a room or like not being her happy self that she used to be, it kind of made me feel a type of way. And I was like, you know, I want to do everything that I can, but I'm like struggling to like even know what that is or what I can do to like to help her out or help our situation out. So the first couple of months were, oh my gosh, complete
Mom,
hell.
maybe you could speak on that a little too. I see you getting a little emotional. And,
I know,
but
I hear this story all the time, and I don't know why I keep crying every time it comes up.
Speak on that a little bit about what that experience is. What that experience was for you, being out here for the first few months.
When I made the move, I mean, the goal was to, of course, support her in her dancing, but also for me to find a job so that we could, you know, make it out here. Because back then it was just my husband that was working, you know, and so you have just one income coming in, and he's trying to support us up here while, you know, taking care of the family back home. And so I would like put my resumes out there. I'd go to interviews, but it was so hard to find a job. And so I was like, what the heck? Because especially here in West Covina, like a lot of places, they're looking for people who can speak different languages, you know what I mean?
Spanish,
which I understand. Yeah, it was either Spanish or Chinese, and I'm like, I don't know any of that, you know. So I was like, oh shoot, but so it was hard, and so I guess for me, not getting hired added on to that stress, you know what I mean? And so me not being hired, and then, you know, using the little finances that we did have from my husband's paycheck, you know, trying to, like she said, like pay our share with living with Sonoy and them, and then also trying to buy groceries, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, because, you know, the Fa Samoa style, like you don't want to just take advantage of people like that are opening their homes to
you. Want to contribute.
Yeah, you want to contribute. And Sonoy was always like, bless her heart, like she'd be like, Auntie, just contribute whatever you can, you know, but, you know, in the back of your mind, like, wow, you're literally putting a roof over her head so that she could pursue dance, you know, so... You know, so I'm like trying to like do my best and this and that, but also like getting turned down from these job interviews that I was going to. So, you know, all of that just culmination just, I guess, overwhelmed me at one point. And like she said, like we came home from church and I literally went straight to the room, locked the door, and I was like crying. And she kept going, Mom, are you okay? Are you okay? Like she could tell something was wrong because I wasn't myself driving home. And so then, you know, and I just started questioning like the move, you know, like I kept doubting and I kept saying, okay, God, like, why would you bring us out here? Because we could tell that this was something she loved. We knew she was talented in it, and it's like, and it was like, okay, God, you know, why did you, you know, because whenever like we make big decisions as a household, you know, we really kind of, you know, listen to what God is trying. We pray about it, and we try to listen to what God is trying to tell us, and so. And at that point, I started doubting God, like, why, you know, why are we going through this? You know, it's like, this is not it. And so I remember calling my husband, like, oh my gosh, you know, I think we made a mistake. You know, I think Sienna I need to come home. You know, like I told you, we should have waited a year. You know what I mean, like that. And then my husband, he's such a, he reminded me, like, because a lot of times I would speak faith into his situations, and then now the tables have turned, so he's like speaking faith into me.
You're not used to this.
Yeah, so you know, because I grew up in the church, you know, I grew up like, you know, I know what God has done. I've seen many miracles that He has done for our family, and so for me to doubt God at that moment because I wasn't seeing anything happen for us, it was overwhelming. And so I remember telling my husband, like, no, we need to come home. We made a mistake, you know, So I was like, see, I told you we should have waited a year. And then he was like, babe, it's easy to throw in the towel. You know what I mean? That's usually how the enemy works. Like it tells you, like, you know, they start to plant seed into your mind. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I know what the word says. I know. And he's like, you just have to have faith. He's like, trust me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for our baby girl. So I was like, okay, it's easier said than done, you know, because as women, we want to feel secure both financially, you know, mentally, you know, like, and stuff like that. And so then right there, I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, Lord. And so then, you know, we prayed about it. Like he prayed with me on the phone, and then my sisters all found out. And so they started calling me, you know, and they're all like speaking faith into me. And so I was like, okay, you know, we just got to trust God, you know what I mean? Right. And so right there, it's like, from that point on, it's like, okay, Lord, you know, we made this decision, you know, based on our prayer with you. And so it's like, okay, we're gonna see something happen. And then that's when her video went viral.
Nice.
Hold on.
That is, hey, we gotta go back over that. That is super powerful. Like, that's definitely one of the reasons why we needed to have you here. Like, even myself, like, you know, I'm thinking like, you guys are in Hawaii as a 2-income family, right?
Yes.
And now you have to quit your job, move to LA. Now you only have one income, and on that one income, he has to, you know, support what he has back home, and you guys here too. And me as a father, I'm not letting that happen. Like, you know, like, And so definitely big props to, you know, you and Pops. You know, shout out to Pops for, you know, definitely believing in the dream. Like,
for sure.
That's definitely super powerful.
No, yeah, for real. Okay, so you have that talk with your husband. He's convinced you, and your sister's convinced you that everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
It's hard now, but things will work out.
Yeah.
And then there's a video that goes viral. Let's talk about this video. What video is it? And kind of give us, I guess, context as to how that went down.
Phil. So, actually, the first one that did go viral was my Cardi B dance to Barty or Cardi, and she posted. I just did it as a solo though here in the studio. I taught a class. I just taught it to everybody that was here to take.
That's the one in the gymnasium.
No, not yet, because it's the same choreo though.
Okay.
So she first reposted that video, and I was like, what the heck? Like, Cardi B reposted my video? That's so crazy. Like, it was something so unheard of for me.
Yeah, and that's when she was like, she had probably just come out. Actually, that was her first song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it blew up.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think after that video got reposted by her, the lab, the high school dance team that I was a part of is under the direction of the lab. So my director was like, I think you should do that song. You need to do that choreo for the performance we have coming up at our like, what was it?
Showcase.
Our showcase. They had like a
I was gonna ask, like, was that a pep rally or something? Like,
no,
that's what
it
looked
was
like.
a dance competition.
Yeah, so all these like different all these different schools out here in California, they all come to compete in different competitions, like at different schools, and so every school kind of holds a competition. So that's what Westco did, and you're not allowed to compete in the competition if you're hosting it. So we got to showcase at least like a routine at the end of the night. So my director was like, you should do it for that performance and like have a bunch of girls, like make it a girls piece. And so I was like, okay, I'm kind of down. And so I did that, and then we performed it. And when I watched the video back, I was like, oh, this would be cool to post.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really cool. Like, you see everybody in the background just getting hype, you know?
Did they know like about the video, how Cardi B reposted it, or no?
So a lot of people did, because that day a lot of people were like, hey, you're the girl that was reposted by Cardi B. I was like, yeah, that's me, thank you. And so I was like, oh, this would be a good video to post. So I posted on my Instagram, and like in the first, I would say like hour, like over 100,000 views. And I was like, what is going on? Like, my phone just kept blowing up, and I'm like, Mom, I don't know what's going on here. I was like,
This is what it feels like to go viral?
No, and then like, I was here at the studio because we had a rehearsal for something, and I was like, my phone just kept going, and my director was like, dude, your video is like blowing up right now. I was like, yeah. I was like, I have no idea why. And she's like, no, dude, the energy that everybody was giving around you. Yeah. I was like, oh, you are so right. I was like, people love seeing raw footage like that, you know? Yeah. So it just kept getting more views and more likes, and people kept tagging it, tagging other people in it. And then the next day, Cardi reposts that one, and I'm like, oh, it's done. I was like, it's a done deal. I was like, I was like, how's she gonna post two? I was like, So it was so crazy to just see that whole process like kind of like unfold. But that was like the first like viral video that I had, and I was like, this is crazy. Is this what? I was like, viral videos?
So the video goes viral. What is what happens? I mean, do you get any other opportunities after that?
Yeah, so it was crazy. Like a bunch of like different organizers from around the world. I guess they like have a lot of like dance camps, or they would want me to come and teach workshops out at their studios. And so my mom was like, dude, like people from like China or like Germany,
Wow.
or Norway, like all these different people want you to come out and teach classes at like these different studios. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? And I've known like a couple of choreographers that would do that, but I never really imagined or saw myself kind of doing that, you know, like in
at least not this soon in your career.
No, yeah. I was like, people want to learn from me, like around the world. I was like, that's crazy. That's so crazy to think about. So a lot of different opportunities like that would come in, and they'd be like, we would love to have you, come teach a class, and you can stay. We'll pay for your airfare and food, and like everything. We'll take care of you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're like literally paying for everything, and then on top of that, they're paying me to like teach a dance class.
Yeah.
On
So
top of that.
at this point, that video goes viral, and that's when you're able to start making money from your passion of dancing.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say after that video went viral, a lot of different inquiries came in, and then I would say at the next month.
February. So her video went viral in January, the end of January.
Mom remembers it like it's yesterday.
Honestly, exactly. Because then, so her video went viral in January, and then in February, that's when all the inquiries started coming in, like wanting to fly her out, like around the world. Right. And so I was like, wait, what? And so then from there on, we literally nonstop traveling from February for like a whole year.
That's crazy.
So we've been to like over 25 countries, and some of them we've been there 3 times. Right. You know what I mean? Like more than once. And so it's crazy, like she said.
Did you have your passport at this time then?
Well, we had to. We had literally had to go get our passport like quick for these
expedited.
For these international trips.
I know what that's like. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, for me, like from my standpoint, like watching her video go viral, and then all of a sudden people started wanting, like you said, wanting to learn from her, and it was like, wow, like this is crazy, and I think that's, we kind of saw like she would be doing this, but we thought she would do it like later on,
later on
in her late 20s. You know what I mean? And so that's why my husband was like, oh yeah, what if she starts to travel? And I'm like, she ain't gonna travel for a while. She gonna travel for a while.
And especially like at that time, there weren't a lot of like a lot of people from the younger generation doing that. You would see only like the older generation, going out to teach.
Yeah, and so then for me to see that was mind blowing, because I'm like, whoa. And then so that's when my husband's like, I tell you she's gonna travel. See, I told you. And so I was like,
he really is a male at heart, because man, that's all meant to. What did I tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
What did I tell you? Yeah.
And so then right there, and then so now it just all clicked. Like, okay, that's the reason why I'm here, because like we weren't gonna send her across the world, travel by herself as a girl, and so then that's when I was like, okay, we're going to all these different countries, and like it was fun. Like she loved doing it, like meeting all these people, and the dance community in the international scene. I mean, talk about passion. Like these people, like a lot of them don't have much, and so a lot of them, when they find out like these choreographers are coming, they save. Like we hear stories of how they save their money just to attend a class that she's teaching. Yeah. So it's like you feel very blessed and fortunate to like, wow, these people wanna learn from her.
Sure.
Okay, so now you're getting all kinds of offers from dance clubs or dance communities from all over the world, which is crazy. I mean, you're now a global success essentially. You've gone viral. These people are reaching out in hopes that you could come and teach classes, teach courses to these kids, or not even kids, because I've actually seen you teach plenty of adults too. Yeah. So actually, it's of all ages. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about maybe some of the numbers, like ballpark numbers of how much it would cost to do a class or to teach a class, because now this is your livelihood. You're blessed to be in a position to do what you love and make money off that. So if you don't mind, just touch a little bit on that.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna let Mama Manager
Mama Manager,
kind of talk about that.
I guess it all really depends. So some of these camps or some of these organizers, that when they want her to come and teach, a lot of times they'll tell you like, oh, can she teach 2 classes or 3 classes? Like for instance, after her video went viral, we went to China. That was our first international trip to teach at a dance camp. And they were like, oh yeah, we want her to teach they said 3 classes. So we're like, oh, okay, that's cool, 3 classes, and this is our first time doing something like this. And then it went from 3, then it went to 6. Wow. And then all of a sudden when we get there, they're like, can we throw on 4 more? You know what I mean? And we're like, wait, a total of 10?
I mean, you're already out here.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And then, back then, because she just started, of course, you don't want to like overcharge or like tell people.
So were they leaving it open-ended then? Like
no, like we gave them a dollar amount, to kind of work with, but because they added on all these different classes and they were willing to pay more, so that was kind of cool. But I think back then when she first started out, it was like from, for instance, like teaching 3 classes, she probably made like what, $3,000. Sure. You know what I mean? And so But as people kept adding like more, and so it really all depended on what they were asking from her. You know what I mean? And so that was like, I think China was the first time she ever taught 10 classes, and out of those 10, 6 of them were for their regular students, like adults, and then 4 were for kids, because they knew that she taught kids as well, and so that was an interesting dynamic, you know, just being in China, and she had to teach 10 classes, so that's the most she's ever done. Ever since then, like nowadays, it's like 3 or 4 would be the most, you know, because then a lot of these organizers now are being smart, because they're bringing in other choreographers to teach, because a lot of these camps are usually like a week long, you know what I mean? So they try to take advantage of the different days, and so they have all these different choreographers come out, and so, you know, so now it really all depends on what the organizer wants.
How did you navigate through coming up with a price for your daughter? Because obviously, I mean, this is the first time this has ever happened for you guys. This is brand new. Did you have somebody that you could lean on to maybe get like ballparks on what you could charge? Did you just kind of like, this is my daughter and she's cold, so you know what I mean? Like,
show me the money. No, I was kidding. No, we did actually. So one of the one of the guys that's part of the creative team here at the lab, he actually used to help run World of Dance, and not the TV one, but then the World of Dance. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the competition. They would travel from state to state, hold these big competitions, and then, so he was actually one of the guys that ran it. So he was in charge of bringing in acts to showcase at his event. So he was like one of the guys that we would go to. His name is Vince, and I remember when her video went viral, he was like, okay, Auntie, you need to figure out a pricing for her, because I bet you a lot of people are going to ask for her now. And I was like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, what's a good one? And so he kind of helped guide us, because like he dealt with that as well. Sure. So he was like a good soundboard, you know, like he would always tell me like, oh yeah, like these people want this much, you know, like should I, you know, ask for more, or, you know, like what do we want? And so he kind of helped find that balance, you know, because knowing that she's new to the scene, so, you know, you don't want to just be like, oh yeah, like you said, like, you know, she's good, you know, you're going to pay her like what her worth. But we also wanted to make sure, like, you know, like a lot of these people that were reaching out to her, a lot of these organizers, like they were first timers as well, you know what I mean? So you kind of want to help, you know, with their branding as well. And so so Vince was a crucial part in helping us trying to figure out like what her rate would be in the beginning when she first started off traveling. And then we actually got Carrie, who's actually one of the directors here at the lab. She also manages a bunch of talent as well. So she ended up, I hired her to be the manager to kind of speak to everyone while I'm in the back, and she'll like be like, oh, Auntie Jeannie, someone wants her to do this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, just kind of figure out like what's going on. So then we hired Carrie, so she kind of manages Sienna, you know, so that way. And it was at first like I was doing the managing, but Vince actually convinced me, like he's like, no, Auntie Jeannie, I think you should just kind of be like the silent manager. He's like, it's better to have someone else, because especially when you're dealing with money, and he's like, if it's people you know, then it becomes a touchy subject. You know, he's like, you kind of want to avoid that. So I was like, oh, you got a point. And I was like, oh yeah. And you know, us poly people, right? Hey, you know, Sienna, you know, like she can come and, you know, perform, you know, we give her free food, you know. That's not gonna pay our bills. You know what I mean? So I was like, And so that was so like I said, Vince was such a crucial part in helping us, you know, establish, you know, her rate in the beginning, but also helping us in this industry, because he kind of had a background in it as well. So shout out to Vince.
Shout out to Vince. Okay, so I'd like to get in a little bit. Okay, so you're teaching these classes now. I'm assuming, I just want to know the answer because I don't know for sure. You make up these routines from scratch 100% by yourself?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Thank you. So yeah, like I just find a song that I'm like kind of feeling, you know, or like I like to vibe to. And before I used to like kind of just choreograph it by myself and like just do whatever I thought would make me feel like I was fully embodying whatever the song was.
Right.
And then it wasn't until later on, I guess, when I started to work with the lab a lot more on doing group projects and like competitions and stuff, that I was like, I should try to like create with like my friends, or like, you know, like try to vibe off of like people's energy around me as well. So completely from scratch. It is a little hard on like starting it, because sometimes you're just like, you want it to be so good, you're like setting, like for me, I like to set a high standard for myself and like what I want to see, you know, from every single routine I put out. And so sometimes I have a really hard time like trying to figure out how to start it, or even how to end it, or like what moments I want to give. But it is definitely completely from scratch, and it's sometimes it is a long process. Sometimes it isn't. But it really just like kind of depends on what it's for too.
Nice.
What was that like teaching you're in China, you're about to teach your very first session or your very first class, you've never done it before. What was that moment like for you? What was that experience like for you?
I was very nervous. Oh my gosh. I've actually I've been teaching for a while, but it's always obviously been in the US and it's been around people that I'm so comfortable by. When I'm teaching back here at the lab or like even when I was back at home in Hawaii, like it was like nothing to me. Like I would be like making sure that I had a good command, in the class and making sure that, whatever I was teaching that people would want to listen to me and people would want to like learn. But being in a whole different country, especially like, these people have a different culture. They have different like values and just everything. So I was like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to go.
Was there a language barrier?
There was a language barrier too. So I was like, would it matter if I like try to give a whole paragraph speech? Maybe not.
Did you have a translator with you?
I did. There was a translator in the room, and I feel like there was a good amount of people that knew how to speak English. So even if like I said something and not everybody understood, they would go to different like, oh, she meant to say this, and I was like, thank you, yes. So yeah, it was very nerve wracking, and I was like, I just remember like myself shaking, and even like for me when I felt like when I was teaching, I could feel my voice a little like it was definitely super shaky. But I think after like I started doing it for consistently, I was like, oh, it's not even that bad. Like if I'm myself, and I just give a lot of good energy and like a lot of good positive vibes throughout the class, like that's all that really matters. Like and so as time went on, I was like, oh, I could get used to this for sure. So it was definitely, I was so nervous. So I remember like telling my mom like, oh my gosh, wait, is this a good routine to teach, or should I do this one, or should I do this one? But she was like,
your mom's
just go
probably
out there and
they're all great. They're all perfect. Teach them all.
Oh no, my mom is my biggest. Oh my gosh, my biggest group. She got some things to say.
Like you said, I mean, that's one of the things when we traveled international is the language barrier, and so like she said, I think over time she realized like you don't want to, like you can like. When people can speak English and understand English, it's easier to teach. But when there's that language barrier, it's so much harder. So you have to kind of pick and choose like how you say things so that way you don't confuse them and they get lost. And so she found like ways to kind of use like different slangs, you know what I mean? So that way they could catch on. And it's amazing. Like I said, these international dance communities, like they're so eager to learn. So like in China, especially in China, like they're like literally like up in her face, or like because they're trying to watch what she's doing because they don't understand what she's saying, but they're just mimicking what she's doing. And so it was definitely a learning experience for her, but she actually overcame it. So
nice. So is this your IG blowing up at this same time too, or
after this BTS gig? Yes, it is. Oh my goodness.
So how did that BTS gig happen? Did they just contact the lab and was like, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I choreographed for them last year too for this one song that they had on their album last year, and we got to perform at the Rose Bowl like for their concert. So that was super cool too. And so we've kind of had this connection with them for a while. And then recently they asked the lab to choreograph and then perform with them on their most recent song called On. So we did the Jimmy Fallon show, and then we were able to be a part of their music video. And so it was like a whole crazy experience, but I think we've had a pretty like good connection ever since last year when I first choreographed for them. So
nice. So one thing I definitely am interested in is hearing maybe the negative side of all of this, or like things that you didn't expect. Because I'm the type of person where like I think there's a lot of things I'm like, yeah, I want that, but then like you actually get it and it's just like, oh, this is not what I expected. And so if there's anything like that, like maybe the fame is not all, No,
I definitely feel like I've been okay with it. I think the most challenging part of all of this would definitely be trying to keep a strong mentality and also stay emotionally stable. I will say that I've been completely burnt out a lot of the times with all these different jobs that we do, or I've kind of like, there's some times where I've kind of seen dance not as my passion anymore and more as a job. And it's kind of been hard to kind of navigate through that and like kind of find my fire and my passion for it again. But I think that's basically the only moments where I've felt like that. But for the most part, I feel like for me to get back on like what I love to do is just remembering why I love it in the first place.
Sure.
And it is because, you know, it makes me happy, and every time I hear music, it just makes me want to move. And so I don't really focus on too much like on the fame or anything, because I feel like that's how do you put it? How am I trying to say it? No, it's just not something that I want to like put my energy into, you know? Like I totally appreciate and I'm so thankful for like all the love and support that I receive, but it's not the thing that like
drives
you were not trying to get that initially. You were
no,
never
definitely not. Yeah. It was just like it's a blessing to have it, but I know that like for me, like I'm the type of person that just like, okay, what's next? What am I like? What do I want to accomplish next? Like, what do I want to see myself doing next? And so, I would say like that's pretty much the challenge of like, or the negative side of it was just more of me trying to keep a strong mentality and be emotionally stable, because oh my goodness, I would cry. I would call my dad so many times because I would cry to him and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed, I'm so tired, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, like I don't even know if I love to dance. And he'd be like, okay, no, that's not what it is. He's just saying like, you're just burnt out, you're exhausted because you've been doing so much, you know. And so he would pray for me like every time. Oh, I love my dad. He's just
I
like
love your dad too. I'm in love with God. Come through, man.
And I think for my husband, it's like she said, like she could always call him, like whenever she was, like she said, she would feel burnt out at times or not motivated, you know what I mean? Because of everything that's happening, especially like with social media nowadays, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you try to compare yourself. Yeah, you have these haters, or you compare yourself to other people around you, you know, and it's like, and so she would always call my husband, her dad, and then, you know, just like kind of pour her heart on, you know, like what she's going through, what she's struggling. And I think my husband, he gets it because he's a creative himself. Like he loves to draw. He's like, that's his first love is art. And so of course he knows, he's also involved with like music and in video. And so like he understands her frustrations because he goes through that too. So it's so awesome for him to like speak into her life, you know, when she is feeling like these different moments or challenges. And so it's I'm just glad that she's able to have someone to talk to. Because for me, like if she would tell me that stuff, I'm tough love, you know what I mean? Like suck it up. Suck it up. That's why we moved here.
Talking to you, calling my dad.
Hey, shout out to Pops.
You know, I'd be like, well, that's why we moved here. You know, you just have to deal with it. You know, and so it's so funny, like how when it comes to her, like she knows who to go to. Like her dad knows how to talk her out of her mind.
For sure.
Because a lot of it is like her mind just getting all these things in there. So
really quickly, to our viewers, if you're hearing like this loud noise, or our listeners, if you're hearing this loud noise, we are in the studio at the lab, and so they're doing construction. I don't know if it's construction or people are dancing the basses. They're that crazy, but apologize for the noise. But okay, well, we really appreciate the story that you guys shared with us. Obviously, your guys' journey has been extremely eventful. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. It sounds like you guys are in the highs right now, which, you know, we're extremely happy for you guys. Very inspiring story. As always, we like to give our guests an opportunity to share, you know, after hearing your story, when it's all said and done, if there's a message that you wanted them to pull from your story, from your experiences that you shared here today, what would that message be? And Jeannie, we'd like to give you that first opportunity to share, you know, whether no matter what it is, share with our people what you'd like to get from your story.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I think for me, as someone parent, you know, coming from my parents moving to Hawaii to give us a better life, and then, you know, being born in Hawaii and raised there, and just being around the Samoan culture and understanding like my upbringing, I think for Polynesian parents, it's like it's really important to really see what your child is passionate about, and really finding ways to help guide them into that. Because I think, you know, for us, like especially my mom and dad, you know, they've come from a strict Samoan household, and so I remember when Sienna was starting to dance, and we would put her in these classes, and then of course we got heavily involved with the studio, and then they would do all these events or different gigs. And I remember like Sienna having to miss out on a lot of family functions, because she would be busy dancing either at the studio, rehearsing, and I just remember my mom, like typical Samoan, parent, like she'd be like, hey, where's Sienna? How come she's not here? She needs to be here. The family's here. And I'm like, Mom, sorry, she has rehearsals. And then she would always get on my case, like, why is she dancing? This is not going to feed her. Like, that's a dead end, a thing for her to do. She needs to just focus on school and get smart and have a degree and, this and that. And then I just remember having these endless conversations every time when we have like these big family functions and she couldn't be there because she was busy dancing, and then I just remember when she did come, like those rare moments, like everybody would be shocked, like, whoa, Sienna's here? What? You don't have practice today? And so, but I just remember like always arguing with my mom, and I used to tell her, my mom, like, okay, because I know like she raised us, to always focus on school and really do our best and have that great education. And so, and I could understand my mom's heart at that time for us. And so, and I think as I started growing up and I realized, like, as you grow up as a Polynesian parent, like you take things that you've seen your parents do to you, and then you try to kind of, mold it to like your own kids,
Sure.
And so, especially with this generation, as kids grow up in this social media world, and seeing how she was so passionate about dance at a young age, like me and my husband couldn't help but to help her, help push her into what she wanted to do. And so I think for Polynesian parents, it's like really just listening to your kids and seeing what they're passionate about, and having that one-to-one conversation with them to really see, like, okay, is this what you really want to do? You know what I mean? Is this what you want to do? If so, support it and be there for them, throughout the process, because that's going to help them realize, like, okay, this is for me or this isn't for me. You know what I mean? But no matter what, like even if it's something that they've done for so many years, and all of a sudden they say, oh, I don't want to do it anymore. It's to be like, okay, now, like what? And so we've always told Sienna this growing up, like, if you find dancing not to be fun anymore, it's okay to find something else. You know what I mean? It's good to find something else. But we realized, like, it was like she kept wanting to go back and go back and go back, and so we're like, okay, this is. Whereas my other kids, they actually all started dancing together at a young age. Like my other daughters with Sienna, and at one point, my second oldest, Jaylee, she came to us, because we would always tell all our kids this, like, if you find something you love, stick to it. If you find out that that's not something you love, you don't want to do anymore, it's okay. Find something else that you want to do. It's good to try other things. And so my daughter Jaylee was like, okay, I'd love to dance. Yeah, it's just like, Mom, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, she was scared to tell us, but we were like, it's okay, sweetie. What do you want to do? And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I want to cheer. And we're like, cheer, Dana. It's like, okay, that's a whole different world. But anyway, but I just want to encourage Polynesian parents, like, really listen to what your kids want to do, because technically as they get older, it's their life. They're going to be living it, and so you just want to be there to support them any way possible.
Aww. That's good.
Awesome. Okay, well, we appreciate you, and hopefully, again, everything that is shared here, take it how you will. This is just people sharing their experiences with us, and so we're grateful for that. Sienna, we'd like, obviously give you the opportunity as well to, highlight the message that you'd like our people to pull from your story.
Yeah, I think for me, I would just want to say to everybody that if you have a love or a passion for something that you like truly love to do, you shouldn't be able to let any like restrictions or like boundaries or even stereotypes like keep you from doing it or pursuing whatever you want to and whatever you love to do. Because I know for me growing up, like my mom said, like her mom would constantly be like, oh, that's not gonna put food on the table for her, and
joke's on you. No, I'm playing. I'm just playing, Grandma.
I love my grandma though. But growing up too, like I was always surrounded by, like, all my cousins were athletes, and so I always thought, like, oh, the only way I'm going to be successful is if I'm an athlete. So I better go start playing volleyball or like something, or it was I got to do good in school, and some of my cousins were really, really smart and they had good grades, and I'm like, I had some decent grades, but not the best sometimes. But that was like so stereotypical, and so I felt like, you know what? No, I'm gonna prove to these people that like what I love to do is what I love to do, and I want to do something big with it. I want to go and make something happen out of it. I don't know what it is. Sure. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to make that happen, for myself. And so for me, it was just being like telling people to not let those whoever or even just anything or any restriction or any stereotype, you know, keep you from doing what you love to do, because you don't really see a lot of like Polynesians, you know, like in the dance world, or like even just like being big choreographers or anything. I never even expected myself to be at this point either, but I feel like for me it was like also consistent hard work, you know, and for me, I eat, sleep, and breathe dance. Like there's never a moment where I stop thinking about dance or stop thinking about how I can keep leveling myself, keep elevating my skill, or like whatever I can do to just make sure that I become better every single day. And so I would say, like, be consistent at what you do. If you really love this something, like, make sure that you're consistent. Put 100% into every single thing that you do every single day. Like, don't be giving 20% one day and then go back to 50 and then back to 100, because then I was saying this the other day, like, your results are just going to be super inconsistent, and you're not going to see yourself doing what you want to do. And then also, like, just being okay with not seeing your success in instant. Because I feel like for me, obviously I didn't see it in those first 3 months, right? Like I was saying. And I felt like that just made me stronger, and it made me realize, like, no, you know what? Even if somebody tells me no, I'm going to prove to them on why they need to say yes. Definitely made my drive and my hustle a lot more stronger. So, that would be for me. That would be my message for all you lovely people out there.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you guys so much for, you know, agreeing to come on and share your story with us. It's definitely resonated with me, and I hope the viewers enjoy that as well.
Sure.
And we don't want to take up too much more of your time. So once again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and follow us if you haven't. For those
of you that are living under a rock, why don't you go ahead and share your where people can reach you at, where they can follow you and support your movement.
You can see me at my IG at Sienna.Lalau, SIENNA.LALAU. Same thing on Facebook, Sienna Lalau. I actually got suspended from Twitter, so you can't see me on Twitter anymore. It was because of the videos, the copyright. New Twitter on the way, we'll see. But you can follow me over there if you don't follow me.
If you don't, I mean, okay.
That's okay.
That's for another topic. But we definitely appreciate both of you taking your time out of your day to come and join with us. She definitely embodies what it means to be prolific.
Yes, sir.
And that's exactly the kind of people that we want to bring onto this podcast for you guys, is to, you know, inspire you guys. And like Monte said, I piggyback what he said, definitely inspired by your guys' story. Mom, thank you as well for, you know, spending some time with us. And we're if you haven't already, like Monte said, follow us. We are active on all podcast platforms as well. So if you have a long drive that you just don't know what to listen to because you listen to the same music over and over again, pop on one of our episodes, man. And
go to work inspired.
And exactly. Let our guests inspire you. And if you do feel so inspired to, share some of your experiences with us. If you feel like an episode or something that one of our guests have said that have really inspired you to do something, or to not even do something, just change something, your mentality, even if it's just your mentality. Share that with us. We'd like to share it here on the podcast with you. But again, as always, we can't wait to see you guys next time. And until then, find ways to be prolific.
Yo, Concrete, you made this?
Thank you very much.
Oh,